Last-minute shake-up at 5:30 a.m., laundry situation not good. And when your focus is on helping your clients, it's easy to forget about yourself. But NASM knows trainers.
Morning ride is okay.
And staying in front of the day isn't always as
Nice
simple
ride.
as 1,
What's
2,
up?
3. So when the unexpected has you pressing pause,
What's the latest on creatine?
I'm going to get back to you on that.
let NASM 1 help you press play. Visit NASM.org to sign up for a membership today.
You're listening to Random Fit with hosts Wendy Batts and Ken Miller, winner of a Gold Markham Award for Digital Media.
Welcome to this episode of Random Fit with me, Ken Miller, and my co-host and friend and associate and co-presenter, Miss Wendy Batts. Wendy, how you doing?
I'm good, Ken. How are you?
I am great, especially today because we have coming on to this episode of Random Fit, our friend and associate all across, well, not all across, but from across the pond, Mr. James Breese. Now, any introduction I give on this gentleman will not do him any justice, but a couple bullet points about him before we bring him onto the show. James Breese, and Wendy, you love him as much as I do, probably even more. But he is the founder of Cricket Matters and head coach. He's a high-performance cricket and fitness coach of 20 years plus experience. This is a lot of time, a lot of experience. He launched Strength Matters in 2015, which is how you and I met him in Germany a couple years ago. And he's also the German national cricket team head of strength and conditioning. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on Mr. James Breese.
Hi, James.
Hi! Wow! What an introduction! I don't know how to say anything else, or even live up to those words you said about me, Ken. So,
Well,
thank you very much.
I don't know how I could either. But when you look at what you've done with Strength Matters, Cricket Matters, and everything else in between, I mean, we could do a whole episode just on you as a person. But today, we're talking about from wickets to workouts with you, sir, Mr. James Breese, because you are, in our eyes, the go-to person as far as when it comes to the sport of cricket. So James, you and I reconnected in Serbia not too long ago for the Optima conference out there, and with the implementation, and you and I talking about cricket, the sport that you love, because you got some new toys, new equipment, and you were so jazzed about when I saw you. But when I looked up cricket and in the United States, I did not realize that we were already 2 years into a professional cricket league, right? So it is a paid for sport where you have paid athletes and you have an audience for the sport. But for me, it was one of those things like I had no idea. And I thought I was in the know when you think about all the sports that we have to offer here in the US. And then you and I got to talking about cricket, sport, strength conditioning. And, it was just happenstance that all of these bits of information converge when you and I got back together again.
Absolutely, and people don't realize, like cricket itself, how big it is. It's the second largest sport in the world. Let me just put that into perspective. It's the second largest sport behind soccer in the world, and right now it's being led by India. It's like obviously the population of India is absolutely massive. But what they have now, and it's running as a game happening right now, is what they call the Indian Premier League. Now, in terms of volume and size, again, just put this into perspective. The media rights alone for a 4-year deal cost $16.7 billion. Billion, with a capital B, right, for 4 years. And it's projected to go up even more over the next 4 years. And what they're realizing, and a lot of people are realizing, is the popularity within the South Asian communities and families. Because let's just take India and Pakistan as two good examples. It's like religion there. It is like part of their DNA. It really is. You go to Mumbai or Dubai or Delhi, you will see people playing on the streets with sticks of wood. literally little sticks from branches, little tennis balls everywhere. In the street, you can't move. It's so ingrained in like I say, in their DNA. Now, what that means is like Major League Cricket is happening. And this is why probably loads of the audience are probably listening, or as a fitness professional, why do I need to know about cricket? Well, they're investing at least $100 million in the next 2 years to try and grow cricket. They're investing in infrastructure. There's a tournament coming to Oakland, isn't there, Ken? Just around the corner from you very soon.
Ironically enough, I am out of town, and I think it's a 4-day tournament because the old Oakland A's, who have since moved to Sacramento on their way to Las Vegas, they have a whole open stadium, and so this 4-day tournament is happening, I believe, at the end of June. And I just happened to be out of town. Otherwise, I would have gone just to see the sport and see what it's about live in my backyard. But because of that Major League Cricket, it's here in the Bay Area. So whenever they play, I can go and see them. I think that's where they're going to actually be playing, is at the Oakland Stadium.
Yeah, and in the Bay Area and in Seattle, it's a big hub because of Silicon Valley and the tech infrastructure. So there's a huge amount of people, expats, and people from South Asia, the Brits as well, who are now living over there, and they're craving cricket. They really are. I'll never forget when I was living in San Diego in about 2017, 18. I was walking around by Balboa Park. Right, I was just having a wander around, and I literally saw like a group of people roll down a mat, push it out, and started playing cricket on just the grass. I was like, well, I've never seen that before. What is going on here? And then you start to realize actually there's dedicated cricket fields in Los Angeles where investors from the West Indies, where it's a big part of their culture and DNA too, have invested in there to try and bring cricket to here. Now, again, going back to the point, well, why the fitness professionals need to know about cricket? It is becoming huge and it is growing faster than any sport because of the influx of not just the men's game, the women's game. Women weren't playing professional cricket up until the last 12 months, right? Where just this last weekend here in Wales, Glamorgan, the professional team here, have just had their first ever female professional game. And in terms of the women's game, it is developing faster than anything here at all. Now, what's interesting is that it's very comparable to golf. Now, obviously, golf's a gigantic industry, okay? But cricket and golf are very similar because it's highly technical, right? And the highly technical means people are willing to invest in not just technique, but the fitness component too. And what I know and what I've seen, having done Strength Matters and specialized in law enforcement and military for years and athletes like that nobody's really talking about this sort of stuff with cricket. And when I came back and I moved back to Wales in 2020, and when I started playing cricket again as a hobby, so I used to play a lot myself as a kid. I played to a fairly high level, and I still play now. In fact, last year I was playing in the over 40s World Cup because I'm an old man in Cape Town now, right? But I'm still playing semi-professional cricket myself. I think that's the key thing. So I'm like hanging out with these guys. It keeps me young. It keeps me fit and wanting to train as well. But the more I spoke to cricketers, the more I realized they're in pain. They've got no solid fitness advice. They have no idea what a movement screen is, let alone any other component in terms of fitness and performance. And I was like, wow, this is fascinating. And the more you dive into it, the more you realize these guys need help. And that's where Cricket Matters came about, was just through conversations, me getting back to playing as a hobby to do things, and then realizing, taking back what I've learned in the States from seeing seeing baseball, seeing NFL, seeing how sports are run professionally. Because I think that's a really important thing. You guys do professional S&C better than the rest of the world. It is hands down. You guys just have it nailed down from a youth level all the way up. Same with personal training. You're ahead of the game compared to Europe. But cricket is just becoming professional in the last, like, say, 10, 15 years. It's got a lot of catching up to do in terms of baseball. And that's why I see kind of like my area of expertise coming in now is taking this movement, high performance kind of fitness, and tying it and applying it to the technical side of things. Because again, similar to golfers, again, I use the golf analogy. Golfers just want to swing a club. They want to hit the ball, right? They just want to go and hit balls. They want to go down the driving range. They just want to hit balls. Sometimes they don't care if they have no ankle dorsiflexion or plantar flexion. They don't care if they've got no internal or external hip rotation, right? Unless it means they can hit the ball farther, right? Or unless it means that they can, play a better round. Like it's the same with cricket. Cricketers don't really care about the fitness stuff unless it impacts how they perform technique. They'll invest anything in equipment, like as Ken said, like I was lucky enough to get new bats and new gloves the other week, which is great. It's so exciting, right? But people don't, they invest in technique for the sport as opposed to technique for the fitness, but they're now starting to realize the physical impacts the technical. So again, coming back to why coaches and fitness professionals may need to learn about cricket is because cricket is coming to America. The networks, the advertisers are investing heavily in cricket because they've seen the potential. And as a result, there's a lot of families and communities who love cricket and want to be trained by people here. So if you have a better understanding of the game, right, there's a chance for you to shine out because trust me, in 5-10 years time, it's going to be a big part of fitness and sports in the US because of the investment that's being made from the big guys in India and the tech side of things who support it.
So James, that kind of brings me into actually a question. I'm going to have you take a few steps back. I mean, people like myself, I was super excited. For those of you guys that don't know how James and I met, this is, I kid you not, a true story. It has nothing to do with cricket, but I have to tell you how wonderful this man is. I was in Germany getting ready to present. I was waiting on Ken to come down, and I realized I forgot my clicker. So I to change the presentation as I was going through and doing this. And James, I've never met him, didn't know anything. He was there with his own colleague, and he sees me frantically stressing, and I randomly walk up to this man and say, hey, I know you don't know me, but do you have a clicker I can borrow because I have to go on in 15 minutes and I can't find mine. And he was like, which one do you want? What can I do to help you? It's all going to be fine. So anyway, so that will be how I first met you, and I owe you a ton. But going back to what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
So again, on Random Fit, myself, Wendy Batts, Ken Miller, have James Breese joining us. We are talking about cricket. And so James, can you tell our listeners and even kind of give me some more insight about cricket? Like, can you paint a picture of what is the sport's fundamental elements and what makes it so captivating? You're talking about all this money and bringing in these fans and, you know, building these different maybe stadiums or utilizing these stadiums. But can you tell us kind of what is cricket?
Yeah, it's in very simple terms. And I love this because there's actually a book being written called Cricket for Americans. Somebody's actually gone out to write a book especially about cricket for Americans. I tell you what, Wendy and Ken, I'll buy it. I'm going to buy you a copy and send it to you, okay, to have a read.
Is it like Cricket for Dummies? Is that what that is?
Almost, yeah, a little bit like that. Yeah, exactly. But I never want to say that live on air.
That's okay.
No, but the best way to describe it is think of it like it's like a British version of baseball. Okay, just in very simple terms, it's like a British version of baseball. You are trying to hit the ball out of the park, right, as best as you possibly can. But the difference is that if you're a batter, okay, as an example, you know, in baseball, 3 strikes, you're out, and there's another innings, you get to come in again. If you're a batter, if you get striked out, or out as we call it in cricket, right, that's you done for the game. You're out. You don't get a second chance. There's no second chance at all. Right? But if you don't get out, you can bat all day for as long as you want, almost. Right? So the goal is, so I'm, for example, I'm the number one batsman normally in terms of like I go out to play. So my team is batting first. I'll be number one. Right? I can stay batting the entire innings. Right? If I want to, if I don't get out. And you can get out in similar to baseball to get caught out. If you have what you call wickets, like 3 bits of wood that stick out. If the ball hits those wickets, you're out. Okay, it's like the strike square. If you imagine in baseball. Okay, so there's 10 ways you can get out. I won't go into the complexities of it, but in simple terms, if they catch you out, you're out. If it hits the stumps, you're out. Okay, in very simple terms. And also similar to baseball, where you can, if they run into first base and they get the plate and you can get out as well by being run out. Right. Now, in baseball, you run the full lap of the plate, right? In cricket, you run back and forth. So you have 2 wickets at 22 yards apart, okay? A bowler, as we call it, instead of a pitcher, will bowl the ball to you. They can't throw it. They can't have a bent arm. It has to be a straight arm, okay? So they're going to bowl the ball to you. You hit the ball. Now, if it goes over like a home run out the park, that's what we call a 6. If it goes out the park and it bounces before it hits what we call the rope on the outside of the field, it's 4 runs. But if you hit the ball in between the gaps and you run back and forth with your partner, because 2 of you batting at the same time, that's 1 run once, and you can do 2, 3 back and forth. So cricket, over a period of time, because there's 3 variations of this game, okay, and I'll tell you about more of that in a second, is unique because a pitcher in baseball is throwing and the ball does not bounce off the floor. In cricket, it's illegal to bowl a ball that's above your waist. So the ball has to almost pitch on the floor before it comes to you. And you have bowlers bowling at you from, at the professional level, the fastest bowlers in the world are about 95 miles an hour. So not only do they have to deal with the way the ball moves in the air, but the way it deviates off the pitch in how it bounces or moves laterally as well in terms of how you're doing it. So it's a unique game where it brings excitement, it brings pain and misery sometimes, frustration like golf, because if you get out the first ball of the game, that's you done. that's you out until you start fielding and you can be an infielder, right? So it's a unique idea of looking at things, but it's a variation of baseball that can go on for, I kid you not, 5 days. So at the professional level, a game of cricket, a test match, which is called the ultimate test, right, can last for 5 days. 5 days back and forth, right? Now, at the more semi-professional and amateur level, you have what we call one-day cricket, which is the most common thing played on the Saturday. And that is what we call 50-over cricket. And that's where overs are like 6 pitches in a go, 6 balls in a go, right? Then you switch ends and another go has 6 overs. So an over is 6 balls, right? It's like 6 pitches. And you change ends. And each team has 50 overs, essentially, right? And that takes about 3.5 hours per inning. So in total, about 8 hours for the entire game, okay? Yeah, exactly. So it's an 8-hour period, right? Now, picture the fitness levels required for this. If I'm a number 1 batter and I'm hitting the ball, not just hitting it out of the park, but I'm sprinting as hard as I can in between the wickets, I could be doing that for 3 hours, right? The physical capacities and fitness levels and the mental fatigue is real. It really is. So if you're not fit enough to do it, you struggle. Okay, so there's an element of power, explosiveness, agility, speed, all this to go into, but there's a big element of endurance. And it's the same with fast bowlers. If they're bowling all day long, the average amount of volume they do in a day is between 10 to 15 kilometers. Okay, that's how much they're running in a game in one day. Okay, at the pro level, they're doing that for 5 days straight. That's the kind of like the picture I'm trying to paint here now. So it's a unique thing, but the most exciting thing at the moment is what we call T20. And it's a short and condensed version of 20 overs each, where, as I say, the game on TV in the Indian Premier League right now is you're talking a game of 3 hours, right? And that's the more digestible, friendly, entertaining. It's the most balls going over the boundary, like home runs, like it's got the cheerleaders, it's got everything going on, but it's a short, condensed version. But those are the 3 main versions of cricket. And the game is essentially to strike a player out, or as we call it, bowl a player out. But you can't throw it to pitch. You have to bowl it with a straight arm. And the guys who come in to do that come in and they run up from about 30 meters away to try and do it. And it's incredible. It is unique to itself in terms of like the volume, the endurance, the power, the explosiveness in how it does it. So it's a very long-winded way of explaining it, but I hope it gives you a picture and a framework to work from.
Well,
you just made me tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to it, James. And based on the 3 levels, it sounds like you have 3 levels of competition. You have that endurance part, but just to kind of bring it back home to what's relatable here in the U.S., when you talk about the power of someone like Aaron Judge, right, or the speed of Fernando Tatis in the outfield, or the base stealing attributes of Ricky Henderson. Now, when you talk about power, the speed, and the agility, and you're now talking about endurance, so when it comes to the strength conditioning side of cricket, how do you balance how a cricketer gets prepared for a tournament or a match?
Great question. It's a blooming nightmare, if I'm being honest with you. Right? It's an absolute nightmare when you think about it. It's like where do you progress? Where do you start first? Is it speed? Do you want to develop the athletic nature, the speed of the athlete, or do you want to build endurance? And it's only if you have a deeper understanding of the game and playing that, for me personally now, is that I look at movement quality first. That is the really important thing. Now, again, we chatted about this a while ago, but when players come to me, we categorize them into kind of 3 buckets. Are they broken, breaking, or balanced? And that was something that I discussed in depth with Greg Cook about. The idea of like categorizing players. Now, what we see most of the time is most cricketers are broken. They just play through pain, like similar to a lot of athletes, right? But players who play through pain, it influences their technique. And because cricket's a highly technical game, right? Where I'll give you an example where if when they're batting, because baseball, you side on and you're swinging the bat this sort of direction, right, to try and hit a home run. In cricket, the bat swings like this. It's very different. So you have to play a lot of side on, because if you're front on when you're facing a ball, it makes you a big target, okay? And these guys, some of these bowlers, part of the strategy is they want to hit you with a cricket ball. They literally want to hit you because it ruffles you up and it allows them to get you out, okay? If the better technique guys hit. People with poor technique will get out fairly quickly. But guys with good technique, there's strategy to this. So they're trying to hit you. They're trying to bowl at your head. You need to swing out the way, right? Right? That is how it happens. So, but if my back shoulder, if I have poor mobility in my back shoulder, right? I look at this, I come rounded, I can't play side on. It makes it impossible. Same with neck mobility. If I got no range of motion in my neck, it means I have to turn square on and face the ball, which makes it an absolute nightmare. So for us now, we always prioritize movement quality and efficiency first, right? Now, it sounds counterintuitive. We want fast, athletic athletes, but we need them to be fit enough, not perfect, but fit enough to endure a whole day, right? Because at the same time, there's a lot of walking in cricket. The volume in walking between overs, between innings, between play, you're walking maybe in a game 25 to 30,000 steps, right? And most people at the start of the season, they're not used to that volume of steps in a day, let alone over 2, 3, 4 days. So for us, we want to build a fundamental capacity of endurance, not perfect endurance, but they need to have this first. So we have a number of testing protocols in place, but we tend to have a base of endurance first, and then we prioritize a speed when they have the movement efficiency first and foremost. So it's not the exact answer. Maybe people are wanting to hear, what do you do? Well, it's hard. It's athlete dependent when it comes to their screening protocols. But what we can say is that most cricketers that we work with, because it hasn't been as professional as, say, baseball for a long time. In Major League Baseball, I believe they have like a combine of sorts, don't they? The 30-yard dash. They're very good. There's no real combine here. They have a couple of certain testing things. They have what we call the yo-yo test, which is like their endurance test. A 2K time trial run is something they do a lot of, but there's no real other strength tests that are like a commonplace, right? There's sport-specific tests, but for us, we look at 4 things. Is that, are they balanced? Because cricket's a game of balance. So can they balance on one leg for 10 seconds with their eyes closed? We do like a half kneeling rotation test, because the game of cricket is played a lot in the lunge pattern. So we want to see if they are balanced, they can lunge, and they can rotate at the same time. Because if we're side on in cricket and I'm playing shots in a lunge pattern and I've got to rotate as well, it's really important. And we have 2 power tests, very simple. Can they broad jump? Do a broad jump, very simple. Can they jump at least 110% of the height? Because again, a lot of them, particularly the female athletes we work with, they can't do it. And then the 4th test is the med ball rotation toss. So we're literally standing here, and can they throw a med ball 4 kilos for men, 2 kilos for women, very similar to the golf standards. Can they throw it 33 feet for men and women both sides to see what happens? Because we want to see imbalances. Because most of the time they're very good on one side, but then they're off by about 10 feet on the other side. So they got a gas pedal with no brakes. So those are the 4 things we do with all the testing just to understand where we fit. So we talk about endurance as a foundation, but strength training is a big part of the whole process, but to a GPP base level, because they haven't got base level standards that are the norm in the United States. I think that's a good way to explain it.
Well, James, before we move on to the next question, because it's going to actually, I think, coincide with exactly with what you're talking about, especially thinking about our audience and looking at what the National Academy of Sports Medicine does and highly emphasizes assessments. But before I go into that, I just want to say that on this episode of Random Fit, it is brought to you by NASM One, which is the membership for trainers and coaches. Members enjoy unlimited access to hundreds of career resources. Get the Edge app to schedule and program clients, enjoy half off all certifications and specializations, access free CEUs, and more. All of this for just $35 a month. Go to nasm.org/membership to earn or to learn more about NASM One. So James, you just talked about, having rotation and having the ability to be able to lunge, and obviously the endurance over time to withstand possibly even an 8-hour game for 5 days in a row. With cricket, if it is like, let's say, a 5-day game, and that some of these imbalances are occurring, as a strength coach, is there like an off season where you're working on trying to find balance? Is this something that goes year round? And then how do you work? Like, what would a training session kind of look like with somebody that's doing 8 hours in a row, 5 days in a row? Do they get like a rest period? Are these every week?
Yeah, great question. So at the professional level, at the very top level of international level, basically it's like golf. It's year round. In fact, I don't think they even get a break in December, where a lot of golf players get breaks, because there's these franchise leagues around the world that they can just go and make money from. And there's never been so much money in the game of cricket ever. So athletes, which is fair play to them, are making the most of it. They're just making the most of having cash now available because of these franchise leagues. So at the highest level, they take care of themselves. They understand what their body needs. They're training, but it's a year-round program. Now, at the semi-professional and amateur level, where a lot of people are trying to aspire to get to, there's definitely an on-season, off-season. So the way we categorize it is we have in-season, off-season, pre-season. So for us in the Northern Hemisphere, because obviously it plays Southern Hemisphere as well, the season is April till September. Off-season is September till December. And pre-season is then January until end of March, basically. So we're just now into in-season periods. So for us, again, when we look at working with cricketers in season, which is very simple, you don't want to break them, because they're doing so much volume of playing cricket, training cricket, practicing cricket all day long. The number one goal is don't break them. So we do not want to over fatigue them in any way in terms of the gym. So we're just trying to maintain strength levels that they've built in other parts in the off season and pre-season, basically. So I'll give you a couple of examples with working with some of our German athletes. So they're now in season. We are looking for a minimum of 2 strength training sessions a week. And then we want more recovery stuff that's not heavy on their legs. So for example, we're prescribing to a lot of them, like go for a 1 hour cycle ride, but zone 2 stuff, like for 1 hour, just to try and recover and get the body moving without too much impact. Because, if they're playing the game of cricket, they're running loads in the game back and forth, right? So we go for minimum two strength training sessions a week, depending on where the level's at, but most people fit around that. Sometimes 3 if they're playing less volume of cricket matches or training. But that's the kind of way we look at it now. But in the off season, this is where we're trying to make most of our gains of strength training, but also the volume of endurance. So we're a big fan of them running and hiking, is the honest answer. It's like zone 2 running and hiking for hours on end if they can. So go hiking, get some volume in your legs, build up that base as much as you can, because when it comes to pre-season, we want to go to more aerobic speed work. So we're building that maximum aerobic speed work. Now, we tend to not do as much sprinting in the off season because we're doing so much volume here, but then it gradually goes to sprinting specifically and mass work as we go further towards the off season, more on December. So we prepare them for January, and then it's all gearing up for the April start in pre-season. So it's similar to baseball in some respects, I think. But again, a lot of cricketers in the off season need time to recover, right? Because they're broken. They've literally been playing so much that their bodies just need a physical rest. So it kind of like, it all depends on where the athletes are, but we kind of follow that three kind of like seasonal approach. Okay. And we always know that it's volume work in the off season with getting to be as strong as we possibly can. And then we bring him in the pre-season to where it's more explosive based stuff with aerobic speed and getting him ready for the sprinting stuff too. So it's kind of dynamic stuff. Now, in the actual season itself, we tend to prescribe a lot of agility, speed and agility work, but low threshold, like super low threshold. So we'll get them outdoors on their own, 20, 30 minutes of just doing some basic A skips, like sprinting mechanics, right? Simple low threshold stuff. Do some basic acceleration drills, get them running wickets, but not long, like we're talking 5-10 minutes worth of stuff, just to keep moving and stay fresh. So they're doing something, but it doesn't newly fatigue them. Because like I said, cricketers, like golfers, have to hit lots of balls, bowl lots of balls. If they don't have that, then it impacts how they play the game. So they're training a lot on top of it. So it's more of like load management in season as opposed to anything else. Hope that answers your question.
No, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, from the standpoint that, when, again, your number one goal when it comes to cricket and your mindset is, don't break them, in season, and you do what you can to build them up. And baseball, just to get back to baseball, it winds up being the same thing because, 168 game season gets very long, and, that's, it's a race to the finish when it comes to who can be the healthiest the longest. Now, just to kind of back up a little bit about the game of cricket, James, because again, we're taking the U.S. perspective when it comes to cricket, and there's a lot of thoughts and perspective when it comes to baseball and how people feel about baseball. It's too slow. There's a lot of standing, a lot of gamesmanship, if you will, especially when it comes to pitcher versus the batter. And it sounds like cricket can be pretty much the same way. But when it comes to educating us here on this side of the pond, what are some of the misconceptions we might have or that you've come across in conversation? Because I know when we've talked about it, I'm just sitting there like this, my jaw, resting on it, and I could listen to it because there's so much I don't know. But there's a lot of assumptions, but what can you do to educate us a little bit more about what we think cricket is versus what it actually is?
Well, I think that's a really good question. And it's also similar to what I would say when I first discovered baseball, right? Unless you understand the game, it can be really boring. It just flies over your head, right? And the more I got to know baseball and the intricacies of the strategy behind things, I was like, wow, this is actually really interesting. I find it fascinating. So the biggest thing is cricket's boring. That is the first thing they will absolutely tell you. People say to you, whether it's in the UK or other parts of the world, oh, it's too long, it's too boring, because they haven't got an attention span. But there's a reason why golf is such a popular sport, because there's this, when you hit that sweet drive down the middle of the fairway, right? That 1 in 20 shot that most amateurs do, right? It's that feeling of, yeah, that feels so good. And it's that feeling of endorphins rushing through your body. Similar in cricket. When you hit that ball, the sound it makes, it's similar to, I can't remember, I was talking to you the other day about American football. When you're in the nose section, the nosebleed section in the stadiums, and you can just hear the thud of pad on pad, where those big crunching tackles, and you go, whoa, that's kind of a satisfying, like gladiator style, like listening to the sport of football. Now, in cricket, it's that sound of bat on ball. It's this leather ball onto the bat, hearing it fly over the boundaries. Like, that's pretty cool, actually. So when people start to play it, they start to understand it. But the biggest thing is it is boring, and they don't understand the tactical aspects of it. But if they knew what really happens, you talk about the gamesmanship at the highest levels of cricket, where most people's techniques are equal, but it's what goes on between your ears that separates the best from the rest. There is a significant amount of trash talk, right, that happens, right? And it can get personal. It can get like you would if you go, they call it sledging, right? That's the term, sledging. Okay, if you Google on YouTube the top 10 biggest sledges in cricket, right, it's quite entertaining to see what people say. It is complete trash talk, and it's like some are really witty and like really funny, and you like laugh hard. It's really funny, and other ones are like to the bone and like just brutal. Right, but it's designed to unnerve people, and there's a showmanship about it. Like, let's take fast bowlers who bowl 95 miles an hour, 96 miles an hour. They're deliberately going for somebody's head to try and knock them out, right? Because that's how it is. Because as part of their strategy, because they know they're a good batter and they're going to struggle to get them out, so they've got to ruffle their feathers, right? And there's nothing worse than being hit on the head by a ball that's that fast, or hit in the stomach area, because it blooming hurts. That cricket ball just, yes, you wear pads, but when it doesn't hit those pads, it hurts. It really hurts, and it's incredible. So there's that type of misconception with cricket. It's boring, but there's strategy behind it, and there's the trash talk, and there's the camaraderie. And like I said, if you go to the top international games, particularly in England and Australia, there's a famous game on Boxing Day, which is the day after Christmas Day, in Melbourne, Australia, when England play Australia, they get crowds of 120,000 people to go and see it. It's a Boxing Day tradition, and all teams do it, but the England-Australia one is the big one, which is happening next year, and it's huge. And you get people there, like you got the crowd giving abuse to the players because they can almost touch them. Right? It is brutal, but it's just comedy value, and because it's such a technical and hard game, the amateurs play it, and there's loads of memes and there's loads of funny videos now on what we call village cricket, which is amateur cricket. And seeing these guys try and perform the feats that these professionals do is just comical. It's like, how are they doing this? What are they doing wrong? And it's like something that goes on. So it's accessible to everybody, but to be done well, it's like baseball. How do you hit the baseball with coming at you at 100 miles an hour? Is one of the hardest things to do in sport, right? And it's a similar sort of thing with cricket. So again, there's so many different areas and avenues we can go down with this, but I think that's the biggest misconception, is that it's boring and it's for unfit, unathletic people, when actually it's actually they're quite, not only are they fast, speedy and explosive, but they have the endurance as well to go with it. So
I love it. I'm telling you, I'm learning so much about cricket, stuff I didn't know. But James, obviously, Ken and I can talk to you forever. I do have one final question before we close, because
sure.
I really want to kind of see your vision. So if you're looking ahead, let's say 5 or 10 years from now, what is your vision for the growth and mainstream and acceptance of cricket in the United States? And what role do you see different organizations like Cricket Matters or Major League Cricket playing in that evolution?
So I hope to see Major League Cricket becoming a part of the mainstay of sports. I think 5 to 10 years in sport is quite a short time. It's quite a long time for most people, but in terms of sports development, it's quite a short amount of time. But I'd love to see it when people understand the intricacies and how technical it is, similar to baseball. I think people will cotton onto it and see what they can do. Because again, let's take the batters in baseball. Imagine if you can hit the ball all day. Like, there's nothing more fun than that, right? So if you can just stand there and go, I'm going to keep on hitting until somebody gets me out, I think you'll attract a lot of people into the game of cricket. So there's more and more money going to be pumped into the sport of cricket in the United States for various different reasons, to see the growth of it. The World Cup, T20 World Cup, happened in the United States last year, as an example. There were thousands of fans going to all these stadiums, these makeshift stadiums around the place. And I think it's just going to grow and grow and grow, particularly with the South Asian communities. And I think slowly it will be adopted, particularly as they try and bring more superstars of cricket into America as well. I'll give an example. Some of the Instagram accounts, some of the Indian cricketers, top Indian, Virat Kohli, good example. He's got like 150 million followers, right? Right, as an example of his the power and the reach that they have. And he's married as a Bollywood superstar. So they're like the A-list celebrities of India in some respects. So I think it's going to grow massively. And I think what my potential role is, my way to give back to America, because America's given me a lot of stuff in terms of strength and conditioning, movement screening, from NASM and to other people and other organizations. I've learned my fitness trade craft in the United States. But I think what my gift is to probably help people understand the sport of cricket better from a player's perspective and a technical coaching perspective. because I think that's the unique mix to have. You have, in the world of cricket, you have kind of three distinct areas. You have the medical team, you have the S&C team, and you have the coaching team, right? Coaching focuses on technical, S&C stuff normally, and then you have the medical team on medical stuff. What we tend to find is in cricket that none of them talk to each other. Or some things I'm seeing so many times is the S&C guys don't even like cricket, right? In some professional organizations, believe it or not, they see it as a career stepping path. Same with the medical guys, they don't really understand cricket. But the key is to understand how technique and physical capacities of players go hand in hand. You can't separate them. The physical capacities and what you learn from the NSM training model, the OPT model, influences the ability to perform technically. And I think that's the key thing here. So to help people and trainers and coaches understand the basics of technique so they can relate it to the physical aspects and then bring it together. I think that's the big key here now. And I also think is for a lot of trainers and coaches, it's a potential business opportunity. May not be right now, but in a few years' time, there'll be a lot of people looking for people who specialize in working with cricket, okay, in the United States, because it is growing like wildfire.
That is great news, especially like you mentioned in the introduction. Cricket is this second most viewed sport in the world, second only to soccer, right? Or football, as they call it everywhere else. But James, again, you are a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the sport, the strength conditioning, the technical side, obviously, because you're a coach. So if somebody wanted to learn more information about the strength conditioning side or the technical side, what resources would you recommend someone go to learn more about the sport and conditioning for it?
Great question. Well, I would be biased now and say go to cricketmatters.com, but honestly, there's been so little resources out there. It's why I want to try and share what I'm doing, is to help other players, cricketers, coaches to understand how we approach it, because there was no other resource really out there. So if you go to cricketmatters.com, you'll see our website. We've got a blog. There's loads of pages around that. But the thing that's growing more than anything at the moment is our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and go at Cricket Matters, you'll find us on there, where I'm trying to share the concepts and tying it all into the technique and physical aspect there. So I think that's a good place for people to understand a bit more about the sport of cricket, but how it applies to how we screen for it, why we screen for certain movement deficiencies, and what you can do about it. So you can then tie it in. So even if you don't play cricket, it's about more having you as a coach can have a better understanding. Okay, I can understand some technical aspects which may impact them playing. For example, why you need ankle mobility when you're hitting the ball, why you need external hip rotation. Well, it's not about, that they need it, but sometimes these athletes don't understand it unless it applies to the technique that they're doing. And that's what I'm trying to help and teach the guys do it. So yeah, cricketmatters.com or at Cricket Matters on YouTube are probably the best two places to go to. So thank you very much.
All right, perfect. Well, I kind of foresee in the future you discussing on another platform of National Academy of Sports Medicine, more the technical side of conditioning for cricket. Yeah.
I love that.
Well, James, hey, we always say this, but we really mean it. We could easily talk about this on multiple episodes for hours on end, but thank you for your time. We appreciate you and for all that you're offering as far as getting cricketers to be the best that they can be on the pitch, and being able to stay there once they're there. So thanks again for your time, James. Always great to see you, buddy.
Thanks, guys, so much. I love this. Thanks. It's been too long since we all met together in person, so we need another reunion sometime soon.
Absolutely.
Yes, we do. All right, for those of you listening to us, watching us here on Random Fit, that was our guest, James Breese. If you like what you listen to, go to those resources that James just recommended through Cricket Matters. But for us, like, follow, subscribe, download, share, and give us a 5 out of 5 if you can. But more importantly, let us know what you want us to talk about here on Random Fit with both Wendy Batts and I, Ken Miller. So until next time, everybody, take care and be well.